Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You are now watching Get That Knowledge, where John Pounders from Now You See TV, me, Montez McCamish from itsmontez.com, talk about powerful topics. Today, we're going to talk about faith and how you can get to your faith. Um, I'm not going to take up all the time explaining what the show's about today, so I'm going to let John tell you who we brought on the show and also as well some more about what the show is about.
All right, man. What's going on today? We did a show last night. It was really awesome. A lot of people were touched by it, I think, and it was a great topic. Today we have John Hall, which is my co-host on Now You See TV. He's my partner in crime, I guess you could say, on our channel. And so we talk a lot, and he's on today. He picked this topic. Okay, John picked this topic, and so I'm going to let him explain what he was thinking when he picked it because I would love to, we'll get into it. I just want to know what it is we're talking about here so we can kind of just get into it. I know it's a deep topic for him, a deep topic for everybody, trying to find yourself, find your faith, find out who you are. But I want to let him kind of explain a little bit about this topic so we can kind of dig into it. And I think it's important, it's an important topic. I know that in my situation, you probably don't want to go through what I went through to find faith. I can tell you that. But in the end, it was well worth it. So anyways, go ahead, John. Welcome to the show.
When Montez brought it up last week, we were talking a little bit after the show, and there's 7 billion people on this planet, and there's only one you out there. There's only one you, and that's a gift to this planet. And a lot of people have difficulties in the different religions that are out there, whether it be Christianity, Muslim, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Hare Krishna, whatever you are, and you feel like there's something empty inside of you, and finding that faith, finding motivation to get out there to be you, who you're supposed to be, the best you that you can possibly be. I was thinking about what we could talk about today, and faith. That was the very first thing that came to my mind, and I was thinking of the very verse that the scriptures talk about. The Bible that I read, the King James or ESV or whatever Bible you read, comes out of Hebrews 11. And that was the verse that stuck out in my mind when I was talking to Montez. And it says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. For by it the people of old received their commendation. By faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was made out of things that are visible." Now, when you're going through trials and tribulations, or when you're going through something at work or at school, or whatever it is you're doing, there's something bubbling inside of you to get you through. And I call it faith. And this is a gift that I believe that Yahweh bestows on all of us in whatever profession you're in, whatever situation you're in. You really don't see the end while you're going through the trials and tribulations, but you have faith that you'll get through it. And faith is something that a lot of people lack because of depression, or they're going through situations that they can't comprehend, or they lose focus. And it's the faith that gets us through. And I was thinking about that. We do a lot of shows, John, and even you, Montez, on aspects of life that are caving in on people, aspects of life that are scary, aspects that have pressure on people, and it's finding that faith to get through it, that faith in Yahweh, faith in Yeshua, to get one person through it. And that's what I was talking about, and that's what I was thinking about.
All right. So yeah, I think you're definitely right. There's importance in every aspect of life to find faith in whatever it is you're doing. I think most importantly to find faith in the Creator. I mean, that's probably the most important faith you can have because it gives you hope. Hope is something that is very slim nowadays. A lot of people have no hope and they have nothing to cling on to, especially if you're an atheist, you don't believe in God, or if you are a person that has had a hard life. It's hard to find that hope that things will be better, things will change for you, that something's going to happen for you. And I think faith will bring that hope upon you. In my personal situation, I I had faith in myself before I had faith in Yahweh, and I thought that, I'm gonna be able to do this. I'm gonna be able to make this happen. I'm gonna make things better. I'm gonna do what I want to do for myself. I'm gonna make my own way. And I found out that that faith in myself was a lost hope, because I did everything that I wanted to do. Okay, I did everything that I thought was right at the time, and even things that I thought were wrong, just so I could get ahead. I didn't really care as long as I was able to jump into doing something. I was like, well, if this can make me have more money, or this can make me do this or do that, I'm gonna do it because that's what I want. I didn't necessarily care about right or wrong. I thought, well, the ends justifies the means. If I can have, $100,000 more, then, if I got to do this to do it, then whatever, I'm gonna do it. So I was putting the faith in myself and in my love for money and all that. So when I found faith in Yahweh, I had to hit a point of no return, a point of rock bottom, I guess you could say, to where I'm like, I've done everything my way. Yeah, I got a lot of money, I got my goal, but the ends definitely didn't justify the means, because the ends were hurting me and killing me inside. And so when I found, Yeshua, Yahweh, or Jesus, or God, how most people know his name here in the United States, I put my faith in him. And so now that I'm living by his rules, then my faith doesn't come upon myself, it comes upon him. So I'm abiding by his rules in order to achieve things, and I have faith that if I do that, then this will happen. If I don't do it, then this will happen. I have faith that he'll see me through to the end, and even after I die, he'll come and resurrect me, and I'll live eternally. There's that faith that gives me hope, that I will live eternally. This is not the only world we live in, because let's face it, I don't care how well off you are, how whatever. This life is tough. There's a lot of things you're going to go through that will tear you down, make you cry, make you mad. You lose loved ones, you lose a lot of things in this world, and there's parts that make you happy, but the real only true faith is that after this, there's something else, there's something better after this world, because right now there's a lot of wicked people in this world running around making it really hard on people. There's a lot of disease, and just death is part of life. It's part of as humanity what we have going on. So having hope and faith are so important. And if you're in a business person, if you're somebody that's in business, having faith is another important aspect. And we can look at it from two different directions. Faith is not just about faith in Yahweh. There's faith that, like John was saying in Hebrews, it says faith is things unseen, having faith in things that are unseen, and being able to see yourself through to a certain point. You have to kind of have faith. If you want to go out there and start a business, you have to have faith that it's going to succeed. If you don't have faith it's going to succeed, then why are you doing it? If there's no hope in that, faith and hope kind of go hand in hand. If there's no faith, then you don't have hope, and so you kind of have to have that in whatever you're doing. You have to have faith in what you do, and you have to know that you're going about it the right way. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that, John. So yeah, I could
definitely agree. Like when it comes to faith and how you're speaking about it inside the sense of inside of business, looking at it from this standpoint, if you don't believe in yourself and what's going on, or having the faith that you can do whatever it is, how can you expect it to happen? That's like having someone root for you, wanting someone to root for you to be successful at quitting smoking cigarettes. That's something that I've been having problems with on my own, like quitting cigarettes. But at the time when I first started trying to quit these cigarettes, I had to actually find the faith in myself to say, okay, I can make it without this. I can do without these things. Now, how I came about getting to the faith of wanting to quit, maybe some situations I would be like, I'd hit the cigarette and I'd be like, man, this is tasting awful. This is a disgusting taste. Now, don't get me wrong, I really had a problem with smoking these cigarettes to the point where I liked it the way that it tasted. I liked the way that a cigarette smelled. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with Black and Milds or anything like that. It's got that chrome, that vanilla. Really, right now, me talking about it, it smells so good to me. It tastes so good to me at that time, and still now today, that I would crave it. I'd want it. So I didn't have the faith in myself to say, all right, I'm going to quit this. I would always come up with, like me and John talked about last night, coming up with excuses for reasons for why I can't quit. I didn't have the faith in it because I kept on coming up with excuses. And then when I came down to the point of saying, all right, I believe in myself, I can quit. You know, a lot of times when you look into like further study of how to make something happen, if you go around telling yourself like, oh, I won't be able to pass this math test, you know, you're going to school. I mean, sometimes we even said we could pass it and didn't pass it, you know. But you know, if you're constantly telling yourself, I can do this, you know, or I will be able to run this yard that the coach said I had to run, or I will be able to make this math test work out for me, and I'm at least going to get at least a 68. I can at least get a 68. You know, if you talk to yourself and you're telling yourself these things and you're affirming whatever it is that you're trying to do, it makes these things more possible. It makes your body really know that this is, you know, you're setting yourself up for success versus you're going around saying, oh, I can't. You know, you ever notice a lot of people going around saying I can't all the time? You know, they feel gloomy. They look gloomy. They really do have the I can't problem, you know, and you can sense this off these people we talked about last night, is sensing and feeling those kind of vibrations off of somebody. So if you're not saying to yourself, affirming your faith in what you're doing, if it's inside of business or if it's inside of even just the faith of having within the Lord, if you don't believe it yourself, why is anyone else going to help you or believe you to get further into the things? You know, like in the business aspect, if you don't believe you can do it, why is anyone go? And then also even in the religious aspect, if you don't believe, why is it going to think you believe? I mean, it's just like one of those things you really got to sit down and look at it. Like sometimes it's like a dumb slap me in the face kind of moment. Sometimes those moments are the best moments, and this is when I started finding out my faith. When I started finding out what was going on in my life. I mean, a lot of times when we go and want to look for a situation on how to be better at something, it's not like, oh, I've got this situation, I know how to do it, I know how it's walking on, you know, I know how to make these steps, you know. It's when you fall down, like wanting to build that perfect slide when you were younger, or you build that perfect ramp for that bike to go off when you were younger. Yeah, a couple of those ramps that you made, I'm pretty sure they were a catastrophe, and you wound up having to get up off the bike and put the Band-Aids on the knees. But it was with the mistakes. It was through the mistakes that you learn how to get through the things. So within faith, that's how I believe it. I think that if someone doesn't have the faith, they kind of go ahead, John.
Say without faith, you wouldn't have kept trying. So you know, you have to. If you don't believe you're ever going to be able to do it, you're not going to keep trying. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I know. You know, when I look at just several aspects of things, and I think that, you know, if most people that hear me, they know that I'm going to mix my faith in the Creator and all that with almost everything that I talk about, because I think it's vital and important to, in order even if you're successful in the business world, but without you know, Yeshua, without Jesus, I think there's still going to be you know, you're going to be not going to be satisfied with everything. So, like, I think that, you know, the Bible says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and most people think, when they think that, they're like, oh yeah, you know, I can see that. But the truth is, anything you put your mind to that is, you know, in line with what He wants you to do is possible to succeed. And you know, the way I look at it is, you know, the Bible also says the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. And when you think that way, you almost have this expectancy to succeed in whatever you do. And now me and John are getting ready to start a publishing company. I have every bit of faith and expectancy to see that thrive. You know, I just know that it will, because I know, for one, we're going to work hard at it. For two, our steps are ordered by the Lord. And three, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So if we're putting our best foot forward and having faith that we can continue that way, I think that there's nothing that's going to stop you. A lot of people doubt themselves, and they doubt what they're doing. Even the people that are followers of Yeshua, they doubt themselves. They doubt that they are able to do this. And the fact of the matter is, when you have that little bit of doubt, that's what ruins you right there. The faith of a mustard seed can move mountains, according to the Scripture. Okay, just having that little bit of faith to keep you moving forward and doing what you're going to do, I believe, is your success in every aspect of life. And if you believe you can do it, and you're doing it, and it's part of the will of Yahweh, which if you're living the instructions that He's had, it means you're righteous, and you're righteous through Him, then your steps will be established by Him, and your path will be made clear, and it will be. I don't see failure as an option when that's your mindset.
I couldn't agree with you more. The show that you guys had last night was excellent. I didn't get to watch it live. I went back and listened to it this morning as, I was driving from place to place. And one of the things that stuck out to me is who you're surrounding yourself with, and who you're surrounding. Those folks that you're surrounding yourself with, do they share your faith? Do they share the faith in the business that you're running, the faith that you have in your Creator? Do you have that? What's your focus? I mean, the focus, it comes down to what your focus is. Is it in yourself? Because when you get into that, like you said earlier, John, because I'm a late bloomer. I didn't start walking with Yeshua until about 4 years ago. But I was a Christian. I went to Sunday school. I went to Sunday, but there was an emptiness there until I started actually walking with Him. And then He started showing me what faith really was, because I can't see the end results. All I know is that I have to follow Him and trust Him, and that's what it is. It's having that faith of trusting Him to open those doors, to make sure your path is straight. It boils down to, again, who you surround yourself with. What's your focus? Is it on yourself or Him? Because there's two things with faith. The fear, which doubt comes from, the fear and faith. And using the discernment of who we listen to and who we surround ourselves with, those that share your faith or those that don't. Matthew 23:12 says, "Whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be exalted." It's having that faith. It was by faith that Abraham was called out of the land of Ur, right? The guy was rich, had all the food in the world, had the best clothes, had the best idols, very prominent family, and then all of a sudden he hears this still voice says, "Move yourself to a land that I tell you, that I'm going to promise you." So what's he do? He packs up and leaves all the riches, has no idea where he's going, no idea what the end result is, but he did it out of faith. And that's doing something, without seeing it. But, once he got there, he started surrounding himself with people of like-minded, and then it grew and grew. I mean, anybody can read the story. And you're right. What's the focus? What's the focus of your faith? Is it fulfilling?
Exactly, man. So many times people fail, and they're like, well, what about this verse? It says I can do all things, or I can do this. It's like, if your focus is on, like you said, if your focus is on the Messiah, your focus is on what He wants from you, then you're living and you can claim that scripture, you know what I mean? But if it's not, then you're not going to. The Bible says, let me find the verse real quick. I kind of want to quote it, right. Okay, first, James 1, verse 6, it says, "When you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like the wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from Yahweh. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do." So, it's so important that's a key, man, because I've told so many people are they try to claim these verses, they try to do this stuff, but they're not even following the instructions. The Bible clearly says you follow these instructions, you'll be blessed. You don't, you'll be cursed. I mean, it's pretty simple. We talked about the curse of hanging out with corrupt people last night, hanging out with bad friends, hanging out with people that are not part of what you're doing or are not trying to help you, or not. Who cares if they're trying to help you, but if they're just not positive, if they're not somebody you can look at and say, I want to learn from this person, or this person is a positive influence on my life, or this person is a, they know what they're doing, I can learn from them. I already said that, but somebody that's going to help build you up versus tear you down. So many times I have messed this up in my life back, especially when I first became a believer. I remember hanging out with other believers that have this defeatist mentality. I can never do nothing right. It's all, Romans 7, Paul says that he can't do anything because of his flesh is warring against the spirit. You have these people with this defeatist mentality because they didn't read that verse in context. They didn't read that Paul's telling you to live in your spirit, not in your flesh. But they have this defeat, like, you can't do anything right because of your flesh. You try, but you just can't. So you're defeated. And I started to believe that because I'm like, these people were all around me and they say they're trying, and then they're just defeated every day on the battlefield, like nonstop. And so when you hang around with losers, you become a loser. And I feel like those people are deceived and they're losers because that's what they believe. They believe that they can't control themselves. They have no way to make things happen, and they're just defeatists, man. I don't even know a better way to put it. But you curse yourself by hanging around people like that. You curse yourself by hanging around people that are wicked. You curse yourself by hanging around people that are angry. You curse yourself by hanging out with people that suck in general. And that's the best way to put it. So
I think you're also talking about Deuteronomy 30. All right, because we see, God he goes into patterns. If you read the scriptures, you'll find him in patterns. And, his view of faith is not void of action on our part. Faith is an action. Faith is taking the action and taking the initiative. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who don't share that with you, who have that common then you're defeating the purpose. It's not just a matter of believing. Okay, you have to walk out your door. You have to pick up that phone. You have to make that phone call, or you have to write that letter, or sign that check. Whatever it is, you got to have. It's an action word. Faith is action. It's always action, and it depends on if it's for good or bad. Okay, and it's gonna reap what you sow. It's gonna come back depending on where you put your faith in.
And I really like how we're getting so into like the scriptural things. Like I know that there's a lot of people that are probably going to come across the content and be like, hey, what's going on? But then like it's just as clear as this. The brain won't see if the eyes are blind, and it just reminds me so much of the story when the man was sitting out and he heard the Messiah speaking, and he said, "Son of David, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. I hear you speaking," and everyone's like, "Shut up! You don't speak right now." But he couldn't even see. Heard his voice and had heard the stories of what had happened when people who believed in the man asked for prayer. He had heard of these things. He had heard of what had happened, and he never saw it. And so he was really leaning on faith. He heard this sound and saying, Jesus is here, the Messiah is here. And he heard them speaking, and then he called out, and then he said, "For you having the faith, you will not be healed." And then it's just so powerful right there if you could sit down and think that. Like, for you having the faith and wanting to go forward in whatever you're going to do, having the faith in the business standpoint and wanting to push forward and go do whatever it is that you want to do, you'll be successful. You can't sit there and ask for something. It's like sometimes people will pray. They'll pray over and over and over religiously over the same thing. Well, have you made any actions toward it? Have you done anything that's going to take you through the next step? You can't just leave it just to sit there and say, all right, God, I've asked for it and make these things happen. You have to have action behind it. That's the same thing when you want to be successful. You can't sit there and say, oh, I would like to be successful, but not do anything to go towards it. And a lot of people, that's what you'll have people coming in with the shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have done this, or I should have done that. And this simple thing is they say I should have because they never did. Yep. So spending more time doing, spending more time just believing in whatever it is that you're doing, you'll be better off going down into the road of wherever destination will take you. And a lot of times whenever you start off, like for me, when I started off, I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't really understand what was happening. I know that things were happening pretty quickly, and it felt good. I wasn't behind a bar. I wasn't getting drunk every weekend. I wasn't smoking all the pot like I used to. I wasn't doing all the things that I was doing, and I was feeling good. And I was feeling great. I was feeling productive. I was feeling like things were going in a swell way. But at the time, I didn't understand that this is what possibly could happen. I didn't understand that possibly this would be the higher of seeing things, is finding that I have faith in something, and having the faith in the Lord. I didn't know that that was going to happen, but then, lo and behold, once I start going through some of the other problems or some other situation, and a confirming will hit you in the head, something will hit you in the head, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's what that was, or oh, this is why that happened. You know, like one of those things you never really know until you go. You never really know what you're really going through until you stop and you have that time to sit down and think, why is this happening? Why these things are happening? And when you start looking back at what you've done to make things happen, that's where your answers come from. That's when the answers are there. So, I always say, it's good to go through your mistakes, because without the mistakes, I don't think I would have the drive. I don't think I would have the want. I don't think a lot of people would have the want to do it right. I mean, you got some people that will mess up and they'll just be like, hey, I'm okay with messing up. I'm all right with that. I'll do it again. You know, it's when you a repeated felon, a repeated offender. You know, someone that keeps on doing something over and over again, they're okay with it. But most people, some people, a lot of people, I'm sure people watching, are more like, hey, look, I wish I could find a different way. I don't want to go down that route again. And then so that's how that's all born. That's how it happens. So sometimes embracing the mistakes. Not that you want to keep making them again. You don't want to keep making the mistakes, but embracing them and learning from them is the best way to go from it.
Yeah, you know, I can tell you this, that if I told you today, like I just told you, me and John are starting a publishing company. If I told you I want to start a publishing company and I'm going to succeed at it, but I didn't do anything to make this publishing company happen, you would say, well, you're a liar, or you don't have any, whatever. But believing you can do something and not taking steps is ridiculous. You know, a lot of people do that. You know, they believe that they can do something, but they never really take the steps to do it. And also they ask, they're like, Yeshua, give me guidance, guide me through this path that I can do, but they don't even do anything to make it happen. So if I believe, okay, I believe that this publishing company, I can do it, right? I believe that it can happen, but I don't take any steps forward to make it happen, then did I really have faith in myself? I mean, did I really have faith that it could happen? I mean, or did I just say that? I mean, because there's such a big thing, and I guess the James says faith without works is dead. So it's kind of the same kind of thing. Without works, your faith is nothing, and you can apply that to the business world. You can apply it to whatever. Without you actually making the steps, your faith is nothing anyway. And I like what you said about him crying out to Jesus. He cried out to him, and that's what got Jesus to look his way and heal him. So it's important for us to even just to ask him. And I think that once you ask him and you really feel like this is your clear path, I think it's important to go ahead and take your steps. I know a lot of people will say, well, I don't know what to do to take the step. But, I mean, there's always small steps. I mean, with the publishing company, me and John had to we have to get a lawyer to get the business set up. We have to get the contracts set up with a lawyer. That's 2 steps right there that anybody could do in starting their business, and then you have to find out how to get distributors, which is something we've already done. Find out how to publish, where to actually make the book, get the prints and all that stuff is another thing. So all these things have to be done, and then you sign you take steps. Those are all steps up to the leading up to the next step of signing the author, putting the author out, promoting the author. These are all steps. They're all steps towards the right direction, and it's important to think about that with your business. And I talked about last night with a dog grooming business. There's steps. If that's your passion to groom dogs or to bathe dogs or do whatever, you have to take steps to do that. If you want to bathe dogs, first you're going to have to go and find some dogs to practice on so you know that you're good at it. You got friends that have dogs. You can go start bathing their dogs and cutting their hair for free. So they'll let you do that. I'm sure if somebody wants to come bathe my dog for free, come on over. I mean, I'm going to let you do it right now. You can cut their nails and everything. So you start doing that, then those people are like, well, I'm going to refer you. You start getting referrals. You just start doing your job and being good at it. You forget about the money aspect of it. Okay, this is important to note. You forget about the money part of their job right now. You just focus on being good at it, being really, really good at it, and being just the best you can possibly be. The money comes along. That's the last step on everything. You focus on making your clients the most comfortable they can be, having the best experience that they can have, whatever your clients may be. Even if it's in a ministry and you want to start a homeless ministry, You focus on making the homeless as best, most comfortable you can be. You focus on getting them the best food you can get them. You do the best job you can at that. People start seeing that, and things start happening. Yahweh says, if you're faithful over small things, He'll give you big things. That's a small thing. You know what I mean? You start small and you do your very best at it. I mean, I'm talking about you're the best. When that dog comes out, it'll smell like roses and it'll look like it's just $1 million. You know what I mean? You've done your job, and you start getting good at stuff. That's the small steps of being faithful with the little things that you have. Then it'll grow. So I've done things for years, never made anything happen. But when I started being faithful with what I did have, that's when I started seeing growth. That's when I started seeing things happen. So it's important to take steps, but it's important to be really good with your steps. Do your freaking best. So.
Well, that's the biblical model, right? What you just described with, starting a dog grooming business or the publishing business, that's a biblical model, because we see, faith always comes first, and then we see it tied directly to obedience, to what you're focused on. The obedience of consistency, which, the last time I was on, that's important. In the biblical model, that faith comes first, and then you're obedient to that faith. And then you see, you begin to trust and start to love what you're doing. And He builds that in you, and your faith builds in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then you're obeying the rules that you set down for that business or whatever you're getting into. And that's the biblical model of how faith grows. First comes faith. It's tied directly to the obedience to what you're doing and to how God's directing you or whatever you're doing in your business. And then you see, if you start turning away from it and the love starts waning, then you start to see things fail. But it's the obedience to the faith that you have, the direction that you're going, the consistency of going that direction. That's just the biblical model, John, you just described in anything and everything that we do.
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, maybe I might ask some questions, like maybe you might be able to answer some. I don't know if we have any questions into the chat room. If we have any questions in the chat room, make sure that you all type them in, and we'll do our best to answer them. But as far as like having the ability to just have faith and really rely on yourself, how could you suggest someone to really build on that? I mean, like, really trying to break that down. The quickest way is to tell someone, go get in trouble and then see how it goes. But I mean, like, let's be logical about it. Do you have any kind of ways that maybe someone could actually try to test out their faith without really having such a dire moment at the end?
There's a biblical model for it, and I don't want the audience to get too tired of it, because it has been my mainstay for the last 4 years, and it comes out of Deuteronomy 10. There's something that Yahweh requires of us, and He says it Himself. This is what God requires of you, to fear Him, to walk in His ways, to love Him, to serve Him with all your heart and with all your soul, to keep the commandments and statutes of Yahweh, which I'm commanding you today. So those basics right there, He says, first, fear Yahweh. And that's not saying, He's going to beat you down and get you to where He wants. To fear Him is to love Him. And when you fear Him, you'll want to walk with Him. And the more you walk with Him, the more you love Him. And the more you love Him, the more you want to serve Him. And the more you want to serve Him, the more you want to keep His commandments. And that, in and of itself, is building up the faith. And that could be said of just about anything, whether you're starting a dog grooming, whether you're doing publishing. The business that you start, sure, you're going to have some fear, but you respect what you're doing. And then you begin to walk it out. And then the more you walk it out, the more you love it. The more you love it, the more you want to serve it. The more you want to put your time and energy into it. And the more you put your time and energy into it, the more you begin to obey the rules that you set to keep that business on its straight path. Montez, you asked, the way I came into faith 4 years ago, I wouldn't suggest that to anybody. I mean, I was broken, completely and utterly broken. Like I said before, I was going to church almost every weekend that my wife, hit me with a broomstick to get me out the front door to go. But, I played the role that, I'd have be played. Carried the Bible in, walked in, sang, well, I lip synced the songs that were being sung, you know, did the prayers, did the communions, but it wasn't in my heart until Yahweh saw me do my own thing, do my own ways, be my own man, make my own decisions without even considering him. And then he broke me, utterly broke me. And it wasn't until he did that, I decided to ask him, who are you? And who am I in you? And what do you expect of me? And then he started showing me in life what mattered. It was him. I put him first, and that's the faith I have. And that's how he showed me what my faith was. The relationship I have with him personally. I wouldn't suggest that to everybody, but at the same time, we're all individuals, and he loves us all individually, the way you are, where you are, how you are, no matter what you're doing. That's the God that I serve. And again, it all starts out with respecting who he is. And when you do that, you begin to walk out the ways. And when you begin to walk out the ways, the more you love what you're doing. The more you love what you're doing, the more you want to serve him. Or whatever business that you're going down, whether it be your faith in Yahweh or, dog grooming or publishing. I'm excited, to join, arms with John in this new venture. I see great potential in it. Do I pray over it? Yes, I do. Do I respect it? Yes, because I've never done anything like it before.
Well, so like a lot. I have a question for you. It's really crazy to ask this, but I've had a few people ask me, how about do they go about praying? Like praying for the faith. Like, I mean, a lot of people, that's a big topic. Like, I don't always want to pray about me. I'm not asking all the time for me, but Lord, can you help me? You know what I mean? Like, how does it read there? How can one do that?
Here's one of the best prayers ever. And I believe, John was talking to Rob Skiba on Skiba's show, on Truth Frequency Radio. And one of the best prayers that anyone can ask is, who are you? Yahweh, reveal yourself to me. And, the me, I comes straight out of that. I mean, it's completely tossed to the side. Because once he begins to show you who he is, it's like John the Baptist says, I have to decrease so that the Messiah has to increase. And Yahweh will begin to show you that. And as you decrease and your ego starts decreasing and everybody else, because that's the two greatest commandments, right? Especially for prayer. The two greatest commandments that Yeshua said is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Those are the two greatest commandments, right? You got the 10, those make up all 10 of them, right? And then all 613. You do those two things, and Yahweh will reveal himself to you more and more. So when you sit down, or wherever you're at, whether you're in the car, you're in the bathroom, I don't care where you're at, you ask him with a sincere heart who you are, that prayer is answered 100% of the time for every individual that asks it of him. That's how important you are. And if you're in your prayer life, whether it's over your business, your family, your pets, your home, whatever it is, you put him first, he will answer it. He will answer that prayer.
Now, as far as like putting him first, like here's a big situation here. A lot of people like following the Sabbath. Like how about could some people like change that to be able to make it to where it's possible for them? Because again, like we all have, a lot of people have that 9 to 5. A lot of people have the things that has to go on where they have to work the Sabbath. How about does someone have that? Can you maybe give us a situation, maybe someone that you know that's gone through the situation and said, all right, I'm going to quit my job. You are making me do what I don't want to do, but then being able to live towards these ways. Is there any insight you can give on it?
Okay, there's two ways of looking at this, Montez. Two ways of looking at it. You can live in the world, or you can live under the commandments of Yahweh. If he says, obey my Sabbath and rest on the Sabbath, and that's what we do, we rest. For each individual, that's tough. You're going into a factory, you're going into the medical field, and, you've got to work Saturdays. You got to work Friday evenings. You got to put that time in or you're going to get fired. Who are you putting in charge of your life? The paycheck? The person that writes the paycheck, or the creator who created you in your mother's womb? Now, that might sound harsh to some people, and even for me, it's difficult, to say, look, I don't do Saturdays. This is my faith. This is the faith that I follow. I follow the scriptures that says to do it. But to tell somebody that is a mother of three, a single mother of three, that needs that paycheck to feed their kids, that becomes a huge dilemma. But then if that person has the faith in Yahweh, but that's a fine line. But I would say trust him. That's the faith. Trust him to open those doors. Trust him to make a way for you. If you go to your employer and say, hey, I like to obey the Sabbath as the scripture says, who are you putting your trust in? Sure, you can go to your employer with a shaky voice, but go to him with a shaking voice says, this is my faith. May I have this time? It's depending on who you put your faith in. Are you putting your faith in the paycheck and the person that's writing it, or the creator that created you and asked you to rest on that day and then provide for you beyond that?
Yeah, and you getting fired from that job or finding another job might be the biggest blessing that you ever encounter in your life, because I can tell you this, that following his established principles equals blessings. He says it. Do you believe it or you don't believe it? It's that simple. Like John said, some people were put in a hard situation with this Sabbath thing, and they have to make the decision themselves. Do they want to follow Yahweh or they want to follow man's word? And
well, it's like this. If you're following Yahweh's word and you're putting in your time and your employer knows you are one of the best employees they have because you're honoring Yahweh, because you're not working for man, you're working for him. Whether you're going, if you're picking up garbage, 6 days a week, whether you're going in as a nurse or your CNA or whatever job you're doing, if that employer knows you are going to do what you say you're going to do, you're going to be there on time, and you're putting in 110% every time you're there. So when you go to ask them, look, I follow this faith, and in my faith, the scriptures say to take this time off to this time off to rest. It's one day. If you need me back Saturday evening, I'll come back. It depends on how you go to the employer and ask, and who you are as far as an employee. If you're missing, 3 days a week, you're calling out, or you're always late. It's not going to work.
Don't suggest that for you.
No, I'm not saying, but if you're one of those employees, because you love to serve Yahweh, and serving him is being the best you can be at whatever job you're doing, whatever. And I'm not saying, if it's illegal, don't. Okay, or unmoral, don't.
Right. Saying, John and I had the discussion yesterday. If you're going to be a dog screwman, you be the best one there is out there. Just like you said today, you be the best one. If you're going to be working at a fast food restaurant, you wipe that table off better than anyone else's, and no breadcrumbs, and you just lay it out there really nice. So it's really powerful when it comes down to it, and people have to sit down and think about the full understanding of having the faith, because a lot of times, again, I don't want to give this up. I don't know if I can give this up. This is a little bit. Well, you know what? Stop worrying about what you don't know, and worry about what he knows. You know what I mean? It's like the birds that fly over. He said they still eat. They still have something to eat, and they don't worry. Every single day they have something to eat. They're not being. They don't ask me every day, Lord, will I have something to eat today? They just fly and they do as they are. And like as he says, he'll do the same for you. And I think it's just very powerful for people to understand when it gets into the business aspect, and when it gets into all the. I really, honestly, me personally, if you're going to be in business, I think if you don't have some kind of foundation, some kind of ground, morals, what you're not going to produce anything. It won't work out. It won't be. You might get somewhere, but it's not. It's just going to be miserable. It's just not going to be something. It'll actually come into something you hate doing. It'll turn into that if you continue going down on just what you like to do. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that I like to do that I would love to do for working, but then after a while I get tired of it. But something that's given to me, when I find out who I am, what I really like to do, the things that really drive me, and it's given to me, and I'm able to perfect it, get my craft better, I'm able to work on it, I'm strengthening myself, I'm strengthening my core of how I'm going forwards and things. I'm building my base, I'm building the ground. That's all I'm planting, the sows, the seeds. You know, that's all putting the seeds into the ground later on, hopefully with everything that goes on. Something could sprout in someone else's head, somewhere else, some other way, to where like, hey, look, you know, I had a problem. Well, you know what? You can go to itsmontez.com, listen to get this knowledge, and they'll tell you how to deal with the issue. You know, but that's just how it all happens. It works that way. I didn't know it. I didn't know this is what the plan was going to be. But being on faith-wise, leaning on faith, letting things happen, it just happens.
What do you think of that, John? I think that's right.
I like it, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And
well, last night you guys were talking, okay? And the thing that stuck out at me, the one that moved me, was the issue of who you're surrounding yourself with and by. Okay, do they share the same morals as you? Do they share the same goals as you? Or are they just there for the ride? Or are they dead weight? Or are they pessimist? Or are they dragging you down? It depends on, you know, because once you start rolling, once you get rolling and you get that spark that Yahweh gives you, and you're starting to roll whatever business you're doing, okay, you want to associate yourself with people with like-mindedness. Okay, you asked the question about Sabbath.
Movers, shakers, and doers, and people that are moral, yeah.
Right, and you've got that problem. You got to go to your employer. You're being convicted, you know, not by anybody else around you, though these, you know, you're being convicted by your own faith, by Yahweh, to go to your employer and say, hey, you know, I hate to ask this. Is there any way we can work out, you know, a 12, 17-hour window that I can be off and to serve my God? And it takes a lot of faith to go and do that, right? But if you're surrounding yourself with people who have been through it, who understand it, who have experienced it themselves, who've been kicked to the side, kicked to the curb, or allowed to do that, it is a powerful thing. They're not telling you what to say, how to say it, but they're talking to you, and you glean a lot from that, and you glean a lot of strength from it. So it depends on who you surround yourself with as well along your walk.
A story that I have that goes, let me tell this real quick, that goes along with that. My wife used to work weekend option night shifts, which was Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. So I told her, I was like, look, in order to continue this job, the Sabbath's on Saturday, and this is the way it's been for several thousand years, according to, you know, as far as I know that there's like the Enoch calendar out there that people believe is different dates, and I haven't really looked into that closely yet to decipher whether or not it's true or not. But I can tell you this, that I told her, I was like, look, we got to do something different. So she said, well, I'll see if they can move my shift around. So now she works Saturday nights, Sunday nights, and Monday nights so that she doesn't have to work the Sabbath. Since she's done that, she took a pay cut at first to do that, okay, because you get paid more working Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday nights than you do Saturday, Sunday, and Monday nights. And but now that she's done it, she's actually increased her income almost by $15,000 a year by doing that, because they gave her raises, because she does her job well. So that's been a really blessing, you know what I mean? Plus she gets to work with different people. Before she was working with, you know, I'm not going to say too much about it, but she was working with people that were a little bit off kilter. Now she has a different people she's working with. So this is, you know, it was a blessing. It didn't look like a blessing at first. It looked like this is going to suck, you know. This is going to take a pay cut. It's going to be hard because she'll be working during the week as well, Monday night. And you know, she works 12-hour night shifts. So it was just a blessing for that to end up happening. At first, it seemed like a curse. It seemed like it would be hard, but it was God. God blessed that thought, that attitude, and it kind of changed our life in general when we started doing that, because we actually had a devoted day for family time, which we didn't have before, because everybody was just working whenever the heck they wanted. And now, we had a devoted time to where we get to hang out together as much as possible, and it changed our dynamics of our family. So that's something to think about. It may look like it's not going to be good, but I can guarantee you that if you're doing it because you want to please Him, I think that there's a blessing. You'll see the blessing in that eventually.
And it reminds me of the story Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego getting pushed into that fiery furnace. Oh, it was hot. And Nebuchadnezzar said, "You're going to go in there. You're good. Either you bow down to my God, and you bow down to this statue right here of me, bow down, or I'll put you into the fiery furnace." And I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with VeggieTales, and it always comes back to me where Junior, the asparagus, and then you got the squash, and then there's one more when they get ready to go in there, and Nebuchadnezzar, the big pickle, he says, "Well, they're just walking around, and they're not on fire." Having that faith, knowing that, because I mean, being in that situation, or if you look even into the situations of the Christians getting their heads cut off in Syria, oh, what kind of faith was that? But then when you look at, like, the love that he had, do you know the price that he paid, and him having the faith that, and then knowing that you won't even care, some people won't care, some people will say whatever, having that kind of love, and then asking you to have this kind of faith, it goes hand in hand, and so it's just so powerful to me to talk about the subject of faith, because it really all comes down to, so you say you don't believe, you say there's nothing to believe in, well, really it just comes down to, you do bad enough, you find out that you start asking for help. You go down far enough into those trenches, you get down far enough into that dirt, if you don't wind up dead, there's going to be some way, somehow, someone, something that you're going to turn to say, look, this is hurting me. And whether or not you start talking to yourself, you're going to eventually, it's going to be, hey, this is not a great idea, conscious or whatever. Something's going to happen to the point to where you're going to have to look back at what's all going on. It's just a part of it and how it is.
Exactly happen. I'm going to go ahead and move this banner really quickly just so you can see what's in the lower portion of the screen. You can see the
home. This is live on
home.
Facebook. He just assaulted a woman.
See some motorcycles outside.
His house, so.
Thought I saw some kids.
What did he do?
Right.
I guess he beat a woman up or something again.
Beautiful home in Tarzana, California.
Surrounding his house because he won't let him in. So just thought you guys might want to know live on Montez.
Rondo saying he's probably scared to come out. They might beat him. Chuck saying convicted felon plus gun possession equals a trip to jail.
So he beat his wife, and
have the right to bear arms.
Now he's stranded in his house. They're telling him to come out, and he has to come out.
He shut the door and said, "Get a warrant." And so now they surrounded his house, but apparently he beat a woman up again.
Does anyone know who his wife was?
I don't know if it was his wife. I think it was just some girl. I mean, he's an alleged woman beater anyway.
So where's his faith at?
No, I tell you, I don't think it's really into the ends of niceness. I think maybe at one point in time he tried, but I think also too when you start going deep into the rabbit hole, if you will, you start scratching into the things like a lot of people say, oh, yoga's not bad. Well, no, if you're not doing it to the intent to where you're trying to open things up inside your head that's going to cause issues. If you're going to yoga and you're really trying to stretch your hamstring or you're really trying to get the flexibility or something like that, that's one thing. But if you're doing yoga and you're really trying to open up those different types of portals, I think that's where a lot of people start in the music industry. They don't really understand that it's a lot powerful than what they think they really are. They think, but I don't think.
As long as Chris Brown has breath in his body, there's always hope. It looks grim right now, right? He's surrounded by police officers, he's being accused of something. We don't know if it's true or not. I mean, if you believe everything that's in the media, on the, Big Four or whatever, all, Fox News, MSNBC, all those, we don't know the whole story. And not yet. So, but I'm a firm believer, no matter where you are in life, who you are in life, what you're doing in life, if you're a human being and you have breath in your body, there's always hope. There's always hope, because it looks really bad right now, what John just showed us, but there's hope. This is not the end. And Yahweh does not give up on you until your last breath. There's always hope. Firm believer in that. I have faith in that. That, whatever Chris Brown is going through at this moment, whatever he's done, there's hope. Because anybody can change. He can move in anybody's spirit and change anybody.
Well, that's the same thing. Like it's a very touchy topic at the Thanksgiving table whenever we're feasting, and then my family holds Thanksgiving, and I have some family members in my family who are gay, and so they'll ask, they'll say, hey, so will I be saved? They say, oh, there's hope for you. There will be. You will be, but at this present time, I just don't know. I don't think that you're gonna be walking through. I mean, the truth hurts, but I mean, do I still love you? Yeah, I love you.
Here's the thing about that, Montez. I was thinking about that the other morning. Christians are really bad about, judging other homosexuals, or judging Mormons for not being true Christians and following a different religion, all of this stuff. And then you got these same Christians who are carrying the Torah in their Bibles to church every Sunday and disregarding the Sabbath, which is the fourth commandment, right? So, who are they to judge these people? And whether you're homosexual, whether you're a Mormon, whatever you are, okay? Whatever you are, wherever you're at in life, he does not give up on you, period. And if somebody's sitting there pointing a finger at somebody for being a homosexual, or pointing their finger at them for being a Mormon, sure, it's not biblical, but at the same time, that's Yahweh's job. All we can do is be the example of love. Look, I think one of the best examples, and I hope he can remember what he said. He was talking to a homosexual one night on the show. Do you remember that, John?
No, I couldn't. Just say it again, man. You cut out on me. I don't know if you cut out on Montez or not, but I couldn't hear anything you said. You cut out like a whole. I don't know. Maybe you didn't. Maybe it was just on my end. Did you hear what he said?
He said what he said was you all were speaking to someone on the show one night, and it was about a homosexual.
Yeah, and it's not about judging these people. That's not our job. We're to judge righteously, but that's among brothers who fall away from the faith. These are not people who live in the world. It's not our job to judge them. Our job is to be the example of love that Yeshua walked when he walked. To tell somebody who is in the secular world, who doesn't believe in Scripture, who's living a lifestyle that's contrary to biblical, my job is not to go out there and punch them in the face with the Scriptures. My job is to go out there and make sure they're fed, they're clothed, they have a roof over their head, and beyond that, it's not my job to say what you're doing is wrong biblically.
Right.
That's just pushing them away.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think about the show. John, do you want to go ahead and close us out? Do you have any questions that you want to ask them at the end of the show? Possibly they'll give us an answer. If you all give us an answer, it'd be great. All you got to do is leave that in the comment box, and we'll go from there.
I was going to say that I have to bounce out because I'm getting ready to go pick up my son from school. But if you guys want to close it out for me, that'd be great. But it was fun being on. I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I always enjoy talking to you guys. You guys are a couple of my best friends here. And always fun to talk about stuff that we care about together, man. It's a great, and the people that listen tonight, Amy, Brian, or Amanda, Brian, Brent, Carlos, Kevin, and all you people. If I didn't name you, I'm sorry. I see you guys in the chat, but it was great seeing you guys again. We have a show tonight where we're interviewing Daniel Johnson about the gap theory. He is on the opposite end of David Carrico of the gap theory. He does not believe the gap theory. So we want to get both ends because it's important, I think, to hear both arguments. So join us tonight to listen to that. But I'm going to get off here. You guys close it out. It was a blessing to be on with you guys, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
All right. Well, John, thank you so much for being on, and I guess we're going to let John Hall. John, do you have any questions that you want to leave this topic on? Like, is there anything that you want to ask the audience, the people that are listening? Hopefully they'll answer the questions. All they have to do, if they want to answer the questions, write that in the description box. It's down below the thing. They write that in there. A question will be answered. And they can also give us some feedback. Feedback's like air. Without feedback, we can't breathe. We need the feedback. I don't want to suffocate.
Well, the only question I have for the audience is, are you willing to be obedient to your faith? Are you willing to be obedient to your faith? That's the question I have. And if you are, why?
Powerful, powerful question right there. Are you willing to be obedient to your faith? And if you are, why? If not, hey, why not why too? You know, leave it right there on the side at the bottom. Ladies and gentlemen, you have now been watching Get This Knowledge, where John Pounders from Now You See TV comes on and talks with Montez McCamish from itsmontez.com. I've totally run the whole ending of this, but it's okay. We talk about powerful topics and give you all plenty of knowledge while we're going in. That's been John Hall on the other side, and he's also with Now You See TV, and we are so thankful for you all tuning in and watching. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been itsmontez.com with Get This Knowledge.